All right, so this lesson is about systems of equations in three variables. So if you remember from Algebra 1, you've done systems of equations before. You actually did them, I think, in 8th grade for the first time. And a system is just a set of two or more equations. So if you have two variables, you end up having two equations. Today we're going to be talking about three variables, which will give us three equations. So I just want to remind you, when you have two equations, we're talking about lines. Two variables is a line. And that's going to give me these three different options. So either I can have two lines that cross at one point. So this crossing point is called the solution. It's just a single point where they cross. Or I can have two lines that don't ever cross, right? Those are parallel. Those are called no solution, because they're never intersecting one another. And the last option is that I can have infinitely many solutions. And that happens when you have two lines that are exactly the same line. They're like right on top of each other. So all the points that they share are going to be in the solution set. Now, I told you today's lesson is about systems of equations in three variables. So for three variables, we're not talking about lines anymore. We're not talking two-dimensionally. Three variables is going to cause us to talk three-dimensionally, which should start to make you think about planes. So this should kind of jog your memory about some things from geometry. All right, so now we're talking about three variables, which again we said were planes. And notice, because I said there are three, there have to be three planes as well. So there's a few different options when we talk about planes. We could have three planes that intersect in a single point. All right, think about like the two walls and the floor, right? That corner point is going to be their intersection. You could have three planes that intersect in a line. Think about three different pages of the same book, right? They're all going to intersect on the spine there. You could have three planes that are right on top of one another. All right, that's going to be this like infinite number of solutions. And then you have a few different options for no solution, but really you're just talking about three planes that never intersect. There's not a way that all three of them are going to intersect at the exact same place. All right, so we still kind of have those same options. They just look a little bit different here. All right, now from Algebra 1, you may remember that there were three different ways to solve systems. One is by graphing and just visually seeing where their intersection are, which would be fine for lines, but for planes, we've never talked about how to graph planes. That's not even really something you can do on paper. There's substitution and elimination, and I'm going to show you those, but I'm really going to show you another option that's going to be a little bit better, but we're going to stay in this algebra realm for these three variable systems. So let's look at an example together. All right, so here's our first example, good old Chick-fil-A helping us out. So we said there are three variables. So this problem obviously doesn't have variables in it, but we can kind of write some in just to make sense of it. If you pause this video, I know that you can figure this out without too much help, but I just want to show you kind of the math behind what you're doing. So for example, in this first equation, I'm looking for drinks, so we can call those X. So X are going to be the cost of drinks, because that's probably what we're trying to figure out here. And this means that 3 drinks equals $30. All right, and the next line, they get 1 drink, but they get 2 chicken sandwiches. So we'll say Y is going to be the cost for sandwiches. And that together is going to equal $20. And then the last line here, they give us 1 sandwich, so that's just 1 Y, because sandwiches are Y, plus, and they're trying to trick you here if you've ever seen this problem, but the next variable, it's X, Y, and then Z. That's how the alphabet works, right? We're going to say Z is going to be the cost of fries. So they're actually buying 4 fries. So 4Z equals 9. Now, if you saw this math problem in algebra, like what's written over here on the right, you may not really know where to start, but the easiest place to start, even if you're just using logic, would be to figure out the cost of the drinks first. So this first thing I know is that X equals 10. It's the only way that's going to work. And then because this is substitution, we're going to plug that value in to find other values. So if I solve that in this second equation, that's going to give me 10 plus 2y equals 20, or 2y equals 10, so y equals 5. And you probably already figured that out, again, just by common sense, right? If the drink's 10, then this has to be 5 plus 5 to give you 20 total. Well, now I know the cost of X and Y, so I can use those to find this last variable Z. So if I plug Y in, that's going to give me, let's see, 5 plus 4Z equals 9. which just by common sense means that z must be 1. All right, so that's an example of substitution. Now, the problem is this is not real world. Like, I don't know if you're going to go with your friends to Chick-fil-A and one person's just going to buy 3 drinks, one person's going to buy a drink and 2 sandwiches, and the next person's going to buy a sandwich and 4 fries. It's the bottom part is actually not that bad for me. It's the 3 drinks part that's throwing me off. So let me give you a little bit more of a real world example and show you another method for solving. All right, now this is an example. If me, my husband, and my daughter were to go out to eat. Now, this is not 100% true because I would not feed my daughter what is on here, but at the moment she is not really a huge meat eater, so the only thing she would eat at Chick-fil-A are fries and cookies. And people ask why we don't go there, because fries and cookies alone are not really the best healthy dinner. All right, so we can go ahead and write equations here. The problem is in this example, 1, you've got decimals, that's going to make it a little more complicated, but 2, it's really hard to like narrow down what the price of any given thing is, because you can't like work that out the same way you could in the last one, where you could immediately figure out how much a drink was and then the next thing and then the next thing. So the first thing we want to do is we're going to define what each of the variables stand for, and then we're going to write our equations. All right, so I've defined my variables, x, y, and z, and now I want to go ahead and write my equations. So I've got 2 chicken sandwiches, so that's 2x plus y equals 807. And then I have, on the next one, I've got 1 chicken sandwich, that's x plus 1 fry, y, plus 2 cookies, 2z equals 728. And then the last one would be y plus z equals 274. Now, there is a way to do this with algebra. It would take you a lot of paper and a lot of headache, and thank goodness someone made smart things happen in your calculator, so we can use our calculator to do this. So what we're going to All right, so the first thing we need to do is set up what we call a matrix. And all a matrix is going to do is going to take all these equations that we have, and it's going to translate them into something your calculator, 1, understands, and 2, it's really just going to include the numbers. So let's go ahead and let me show you what that looks like. So first of all, matrices are written with brackets, and we just use the coefficients. So like my first column is going to be talking about x, y, z, and then the last part is going to be the total. So for instance, this first equation is going to translate to 2, 1, 0, and then 8.07. Then we're going to have 1, 1, 2, and 7.28. And our last row is going to give us 0, 1y, 1z, and then 2.74. All right, so this is what a matrix looks like. It's got, it just kind of looks like a table of numbers. So we're going to input this into our calculator and make our calculator figure out what is the value of each of the variables. So make sure you have your calculator with you and then take good notes and follow along. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is go to, there's a button on your calculator that says matrix, and I guess it's not actually a button, it's blue right here. So we're going to hit second matrix, and you should see a menu pop up like what you see on my screen. Now once you see that, notice that I'm in the edit category, so I want to edit this first matrices, so you're going to have to arrow over and get there, and we're going to select enter on A. And it should pop up. Now yours may not have that 1 by 1 right there, that's fine. Yours is probably blank. If it has something there, it's fine, we can fix that too. All right, when you click on A, you should pop up to be something that looks like this. Now, your cursor originally is going to be in this top 2 spots. It's asking you what size do you want it to make that matrix. So this is like the number of rows by the number of columns. So we want 3 rows because there's 3 sets of equations, and we want 4 values going across. Notice this like line here is just going to say continue, and yours is probably going to have all zeros. So now what we're going to do are enter those values. So you're going to, like the first value needs to be 2. So you're going to type in a 2 once your cursor is in this first spot and hit enter. And notice your cursor is just going to go to the right. And then you'll type 1 and hit enter, and it should go to the next value. So you want to complete all those values until your matrix looks like this. Let me zoom in so you can see that. All right, so this is the first part of my matrix. It should match pretty much exactly what I have written down. And then I've scrolled over, I scroll over here to the right so you can see the last part of the matrix, right? So this is just kind of scrolling over so you can see those final values. All right, now we want it to, now that we put it in there, we want the calculator to actually calculate some things for us. So we're going to go back to that matrix menu. So you're going to hit like that second button in matrix again. And this time we're not in the edit category anymore. We already edited what we needed to. We're in the math category. And if you scroll down here, you find one that says RREF. Just trust me that that's the one that you need to pick. Option B, RREF. All right, so when you do that, it's going to pop up, and it's basically asking you, well, I don't think I took a good picture of it. All right, here we go. It's going to pop up looking something like this, and it's asking you which matrix you want it to use to calculate that with. So what we're going to do, we need to go back to, once your cursor is already here, we're going to go back to that matrix menu, and we're just going to select matrix A. So under names this time, we want to hit enter on matrix A. So it's going to pop up looking something like that, right? RREF just with A, and I'm closing the parentheses. And so when you hit enter, it should pop up with a final answer that's going to look like this. And if you think about what that means, if we go back and like translate that, that is going to tell us that 1x, remember this is in the x category, all right, that's going to tell us that 1x equals 3.29, and x was chicken sandwiches, so a chicken sandwich is $3.29. Or 1y equals 1.49, y was fries, so 1 fry is $1.49. Or it also tells us that 1z equals $1.25, so 1 cookie is $1.25. So this is how your calculator will solve that matrix for you and give you all the information that you need. So make sure you have those notes and be ready for tomorrow. Make sure you bring your calculator tomorrow as well, as obviously we are going to be using it.